Live on stage, the sound
of Orlando.
So, is they ready? The sound
of Orlando. You don't know.
What is going on, party people? What is going on? This is your boy live and direct in the mother house. This is your boy Rome. This is the Sound of Orlando show. You know what time it is, man. We try to bring our people to tell their story about our city and anything connected to our city. When we talk about this thing of ours, which is music, art, you know, the idea of culture and the things that help us vibrate through the world. I want to, you know, before I bring my next guest on, I do want to say to all my peoples that are supporting the movement, kudos to you. We appreciate you guys. We have shirts that are in limited amounts. If you don't know what that shirt looks like, check the page. They're selling out pretty quick. Shout out to my man DJ Shu. He was like, dude, you need to turn that into a shirt. That's what we did. And the response has been really great. I'm loving how the people are, you know, feeling, you know, this movement. And so kudos to everyone that supports and vibrates with the show. Also, too, man, a lot of people out here going through stuff, man. Just remember, I like to say this at least once, twice a week. You know, some people put a smile to it and they're going through a lot. For every day that you wake up, it is a blessing not to be taken for granted. We all are going through our own independent struggles. Sometimes we make those struggles look easy, but a lot of people are dealing with stuff. This is a serious time. People have lost people. People, you know, are, you know, opening new chapters that are difficult to have to open up, you know. And so I always want to send my love to all the people going through it, man, because you know what, man, this is a difficult time, bro. Do not be afraid to pick up a phone, call someone, let them know, you know that, hey, I need to talk to somebody. You're not a small person. If you need to talk to somebody, just reach out, man. There's always somebody that has love in their heart that will be willing to listen to you. You're not alone. Don't let the world, don't let all this negative energy fool you. There are people going through similar things just like you and would be glad to talk to you. Part of why we do this show is as a place for people, you know, our legends and because they're human, to come on and talk about some real things about this thing of ours and all of the things that we don't always get to see that they go through. And this is therapy for our city. Our city is deserving of it. That's why I'm doing it 5 days a week, because no one would take it seriously if we didn't. This is real. This is our moment to announce to the world Orlando exists and the people in it are important. So this is what it is. Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show with your boy DJ Rome. Now, my next guest coming on, my man Jesse Jazz put me on to him, bro. I looked his resume up, man. Legendary dude out here doing his damn thing. You know, he's been a part of the Tom Joyner cruise, the famous Tom Joyner cruise shit parties. And right now he's currently doing a WWE in a stadium right now. So the fact that we got him on tonight was incredible. That's why we're a little bit late going on tonight, but he still made it, and we're going to get right into it. Give it up for the legendary DJ Snow. What's good, homie?
What's good, man? What's good? Good to be finally on here. Big shouts out to all your fans and listeners out there. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, man. I'm so honored to have you on the show. I think your story, you know, I talked to Jesse and he was like, man, dude, we got to have him on the show. I was like, dude, let's get him, man. I think your story is compelling. And, you know, like I always say, man, I love when my DJs come on, bro, because we could talk about real things, that DJs go through on a regular basis. Is every DJ has their own perspective, just like they got their own style, and so they view things a little bit differently. So, so welcome to the show. Let's get in right to how did you become a DJ? What was your beginnings, and how did you get started in the state?
It actually started when I was 10 years old. I used to go to the parks, watch the DJs in the parks. It used to fascinate me with how they did what they did. Playing two different records or playing the same record and making it like extending the beat, going back and forth. It was incredible. So I used to go to the park, and when I'd come home and my parents weren't home, I would get on my father's stereo system. And back then it used to be, it was a different rack stereo system. You had your turntable, you had your cassette deck, you had your receiver. So when I would,
what y'all know about that console, man? What y'all know about that console, man?
Yeah, the EQs and all that. So I love music anyway. Every Saturday morning, I would watch Soul Train with my father, and I always loved music. And while he was gone, wasn't at home, I used to practice on his turntable, and it was actually a Technics setup. It was a Technic 1500 turntable, and I used to practice. I used to use the volume control on the receiver as my fader and try to scratch. Well, I used to break his needles a lot, so of course, he was getting pissed off. That wasn't going to happen. So he ran into DJ Red Alert and was talking to him and asked him, about this thing. And I guess he met DJ Red Alert while he was working. So he came to a conversation with him saying, I don't know why my son likes this, but he obviously does. Maybe you can help him out.
Where was this at? Give us a location.
In New York.
Dope. So you grew up in New York?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn, New York, Flatbush.
Brooklyn, let's go.
Yeah. So, my father for my birthday, he went to the pawn shop and he bought me those same two turntables and a Radio Shack mixer. And I just started from there. I started learning, just watching underneath Red Alert and some other DJs, just honing my craft in. And I actually did. It led up to doing my first club gig at the age of 15. And
man, say that one more time, my brother. What's up with all my DJs? Let's go. 15, brother. Say that one more time.
Yeah. My first club DJ as a DJ was 15. And I remember we used to go to the club and go to these parties. We'd have to carry all our equipment on the subway. So, you'd have one person carrying a crate of records, another person carrying a crate of records, somebody carrying a speaker. Whatever we had to do, we did it to get to these parties. But throughout that, like I said, I just what got me the notoriety is I got to meet Mr. Magic, and Mr. Magic was a legendary back in New York. He had a show called Mr. Magic Rap Attack.
Rest in peace, Mr. Magic.
Yes, rest in peace.
BLS.
Yes, and like I said, with that, it just somehow I got put in all the right places, and again, like I said, I ended up DJing in my first club at 15. What got me into radio is I met someone by the name of Paco Lopez, who was legendary in the broadcasting industry. He actually is the one who started Dr. Dre and Ed Lover, DJ Scribble. He started Edgy Martinez, and he gave me my first opportunity of ever being on the radio. He eventually moved down to Orlando, and he was in Orlando for a while. He was on 102 Jams. He was on the Wake Up Posse. That was his show, the Wake Up Posse.
I remember that, bro. Yeah. I remember that. Shout out to Paco, man.
Yeah, Paco Lopez. He's legendary. So he mentored me through radio. He taught me what I needed to know, and he gave me my first opportunity. And that's pretty much where it all took off from.
Wow, man. Wow. See, that's Orlando history right there, man. I totally forgot about Paco, man, and that early beginnings of 102 Jams and what that meant for the city, because at that time we didn't have any hip hop stations, and they were technically really the first hip hop radio station for our city. And you know, back then we didn't have the YouTubes, we didn't have the streaming, we had all that. So that was our only kind of information if you wasn't a DJ to hear music from elsewhere. What was that like? For a lot of people, they don't understand that there's a difference between radio DJing and DJing in the clubs. Talk about that.
Big difference. The main difference is of course it's the music. Excuse me. And Paco Lopez, he always taught me that the music was the star. That is the key point. The music is the star, not the DJ. So when you're on the radio, you pretty much have to. Well, but back then it was a little different. We didn't have to follow the guidelines that you have to now. Now that these big corporations have come in and completely changed radio, the whole dynamics, you know, it's kind of, you know, all radio is kind of the same. It's all cookie cutter. You have to, you know, but you have, the main thing is you have to play the hits, the hits. So it doesn't matter if you play the song every hour, you know, and I know a lot of people, they get tired of hearing that, but you know, that's what they want. They want to hit. So when I was on the radio, Paco kind of gave me the freedom of, you know, it was like a 5-song rule. You know, the first couple songs were hits. Then maybe the third song was a song that used to be a hit. And then maybe the last 2 songs were, you know, songs that people recognized or something that I liked. But you had to keep that rotation going constantly. You couldn't get stuck just playing hits, and you couldn't get stuck just playing old songs. You had to just keep it going. So that was, for me, that's pretty much the difference. Everything is, it's all about advertising when it comes to radio.
And I love what you just said, man, because for a lot of what we consider urban music, hip hop, and of the sort, really from its conception, it is they've been jingles, if you will, that have been mainstream. Mainstream songs are like virtual jingles. They're commercials for whatever products. If somebody's hollering Nike throughout the entire song, they're getting run. You know, somebody hollering liquor, party, you know, clubs, cars, jewelry, Gucci, whatever. And people wonder why those songs get played all the time. Well, they're literally advertising, and a lot of people don't know that they're advertising sometimes for free. They're marketing other companies for free, and then they wonder why they're getting played a lot.
Also, too, it used to be a thing where they called payola, and you know, and that's pretty much where DJs got paid under the table. You know, it wasn't really something that you were supposed to do, but it did get done. I would get calls from different reps and different artists and labels, and they would send me music to play to break their record. You know, sometimes they'd send, like, you know, good merchandise or whatever they wanted, just so that you would break their record. And that's the other thing about being a DJ that I love, that's kind of been lost, is that the ability to break records and be the first one to play it for the people. You know,
and you would think right now, considering all of the music, I mean, you got artists that are literally dropping an album every 3 months. I mean, I know artists that are literally dropping whole albums. Like, dude, you just came out with it. I didn't even get a chance to play most of the album yet, and you're giving me yet another album. Like, what? You said something serious. Part of what made DJing fun was the ability that you could play a record that hit you in a way that you wanted to share it, and I could play a record that hit me and share it, and no one it wouldn't be the same records, really.
Exactly.
You know, some people, you know, love getting that bootleg, you know, Gangstar, that bootleg, you know, Das Effects or whatever, you know, and whoever got that first and they played it, they were the shit, whether it was the club or the radio.
At least for a month too, you were the shit because no one was getting that record yet, you know, because they would press so many copies, and if you were lucky to get it, you were lucky to get it. It was like you found a gold ring on the beach.
Right. And so what was that pull? I'm gonna quiz you real quick. What was that pull? And anybody on the feed that's listening right now, let's see what answers you got. Before the pull or record pull, the real pull was the radio pull. What was the name of that pull when you on the radio, you got the automatic everything.
I have it in my head too, and I can't remember the name.
And every pull, though they had their good things about them, could not compete with that radio pull.
Yeah, I cannot remember that name. I know majority of my records that I got came straight from the record labels, but I know the pull you're talking about, and I cannot.
I'm calling it a pull. It's not technically. Well, it's not called a pull.
But it was like a distribution company. Yeah,
it was exclusive for any DJ on the radio, on a licensed radio station.
Yeah, and they did switch over. They switched over to digital, where you can actually, when everything went digital, they went over to digital. And I'm trying to think of the name. It's something like broadcasting, something like.
Anybody on the feed, if you got that answer, man, let us know.
It's like something like broadcasting DJs or something. But I was on it for a while. Yeah, and you could get everything. Everything was
everything was sent. Right. Yep. Everything was sent. You got acapellas that the world didn't get.
Yeah.
You got instrumentals that the world didn't get. And as a DJ, when we're talking about these things, and you know, I mean, you look similar in age, so I'm not gonna age you, but there was that moment in time where you could get vinyls and you could expect sometimes the same thing on every vinyl, which was you had a instrumental, you had an acapella, you had a clean and a dirty.
Yep.
Now, since singles no longer exist, everything has been reduced down to the dirty version.
Yeah, the dirty version, yep.
And if you're lucky, and it's not a big artist, you'll get an acapella.
Well, what's even different too is the fact that a remix used to be a remix. That meant when you heard the song, it sounded completely different. Now a remix is just another artist on the song. So there's really no difference in the song other than another artist spitting his verse. But you know, so like even back in the day, prime example is like when House of Pain was out, they had a song, "Jump Around." Everybody knows that song. But then Pete Rock did his version of it.
Right.
And it changed the whole dynamic of the song.
Right.
I don't see that so much anymore, you know, other than.
Dude, I love what you just said, man. I love what you just said, bro, because there's several ways to look at it in hindsight. Yeah. When it was happening, I looked at it like that's how dope the song was. Yeah. You could redo it and it's still dope. Like Scenario.
Oh, yes,
did the Scenario remix.
Yes.
The Scenario remix was just as dope as the first one. And they took chances on their records. Like they wanted that record to run for a while. So they did several remixes. It was sanctioned. It wasn't kind of like what it is now where you go on YouTube and there's several thousands of remixes. But we all had similar mixes, but if someone did it, it was still as big as the record because it was so exclusive.
Yes.
You know, if Marley Marl did a remix of something, you know, like when Marley Marl did the remix of Jingling Baby.
Yeah.
You know, that was completely and utterly amazing. You know, but why do you think we don't have that anymore? And is that corporate, you know, foot, if you will, on the necks of these artists to not even attempt to do those remixes?
Because I think they've gotten lazy, and if like even back in the day, the DJ was the main part of the group.
Right.
I mean, the DJ scratched on the songs. Even sometimes the DJ might even had his own song on there.
Right.
They've taken the DJ out of the songs completely. The only time you have a DJ is if they do have a DJ, it's for a show, and usually they're not even live. You know, everything's pre-recorded. Back in the day, the DJ performed. The DJ had his own set, and I just think that the record industry has gotten away from that. DJs aren't as valuable to me as they used to be, because you can find any DJ at any given time. I have friends in the industry who've DJ'd for, I mean, they're legendary, who aren't DJing for their people that they came up with just because of that. You know, it's all about how you look. It's all about, you know, your likes and how many people are following you and this and that. It's no more about the skill and the talent. It's all cliche.
Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Because one of my partners, he told me, and I quote, he said, you know, if I'm not rolling up in a, you know, to the club in like, you know, a Porsche or a Mercedes, and I stopped him and I'm like, what are you talking about? What the hell does that got to do with DJ?
Exactly.
Because, you know, and I didn't want to sound like the old guy, you know, get off my lawn.
Yeah,
but it didn't make any sense in that one aspect. But I get it in the bigger picture, in that for a lot of DJs, it was about your name recognition. You were big, you know, people will respect you, and that's how you got in the club. But now it's literally, to your point, whether you got likes, whether you got follows, whether you got a car, whether you got a chain.
Yes.
You know, and it's all these superficial things that, you know, maybe by the time you hear them DJ, it's kind of like, you know, a cigarette with lipstick traces. Like it's not even, you know, you're like, really? Like, how did you get all of that? And you're not even, a lot of these DJs, they don't know how to scratch. You talked about scratching. You know, or if they do scratch, everyone's scratching the same.
Yeah.
One thing that I loved about, you know, at least let's go back to the 90s. You had Scratch, you had Premier, and they didn't sound alike at all.
No.
At all.
Nothing at all.
Going back to the 80s, you had Flash and you had, you know, Red Alert. And Flash barely scratched. And, you know, they were simple at best.
Yes.
Red Alert had his signature scratch.
Yep.
And sometimes it was offbeat, but that was what you liked about Red Alert. Like, he had his own style.
Yep.
They weren't perfect scratches. They were just it was a part of the sound.
Yeah, and at that time the scratches were still being invented.
Right.
So like even like Stretch Armstrong, he was another legendary DJ that no one ever.
Yes, shout out to Stretch.
Yeah, no one ever, you know, could, and you know, I think he's still doing it today. As I think I saw something not too long ago, but he was another legendary guy that just had his own sound, and that's the important thing. Like, everybody was individual, even the artists, the rap groups were individual. They all did not. Now all the rappers sound the same. So you don't know who you listen to. I listen to the radio. I'm like, who? I have to Shazam it because I don't know who it is, because it sounds like 50 other rappers.
Right.
You know, it's like
going back to the DJ. Do you think the DJ because there was a beginning? I know DMC has been around forever, but there was a point, like you were talking about, where the DJ was kind of extracted out of the importance of the culture and made to kind of live just in the DMC circle, and or become like just a mixer, a generic mixer. And there was this surge of people back in the days that simply relied, and this is my house theory, for a lot of house music during the time where music was kind of being put here, put there, you know, we were all being genreized out of the culture, if you will. And it became, I remember listening to house music, and rarely did I ever hear a DJ talk.
Yes, exactly.
It was just music.
It's about music.
Right. And I remember, you know, the fundamentals of DJing and what that meant. And it was imperative that all the DJs talked.
Yes.
And then once house kind of started, it allowed for DJs to kind of shut up and not say nothing. And it just gave a space into which now you have this class of people that say, well, you know, my thing is the blends. Not realizing, like, dude, not everything was blended. Kid Capri lives on drops.
Yes.
Like, that's all he does. He's not sitting there blending a fucking thing.
Yep.
He's piecing all of these records together to kind of make a song out of all of them.
Yes.
You know, and he talks. So he's talking to you while he's doing it.
Yes.
How do you feel about that kind of separation, if you will, of DJs in that regard? Because it doesn't make it like original. It just sort of makes it kind of like, you go over there, we don't want to hear all that scratching.
Yeah.
So you're like a house DJ. You don't scratch. You don't talk. So how, you know, talk about that.
Well, to me, I think DJing, you know, it shouldn't be put in a box. Right. So someone like Kid Capri, you know, when he came out, there was nobody really like him at the time. Well, he is great at what he does. He's a performer. He's a hype man. He's putting a show on. He's, you know, he's a performer. He's a performer. Now you get someone like DJ Magic Mike, who is phenomenal.
Shout out to Magic Mike.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Mike Hampton. Shout out to Mike Hampton. He's phenomenal. Producer. I mean, he does everything live, scratches, and he can do anything. Right. So he doesn't really talk so much that I've seen. Maybe
well, he's talking in his latter years. He started talking a whole lot more. Yeah, like shout out to Mike because he does the Twitches now and he's talking, and I love that. You know, that he's becoming more intimate with what he's doing. But continue.
But so as far as like house music, you know, I guess the whole vibe and scene that they created in the house scene, of course, is a lot different than hip hop. People were more into the vibe. They were more into drugs or whatever the case may be, and it just became about the music. It came about the trance. It came about the journey of where the DJ was taking the people. As in my opinion, the house music was so. It was all about the drum beat, the bass.
Which that made sense for that particular music.
Yeah, for that particular music.
For that particular music, but it seemed like the same idea crossed over into hip hop, which hip hop is a whole nother animal.
Yes.
Not being able to talk sometimes is not a bad thing. But you have a lot of DJs that will say certain things, you know, like, yeah, it's all about the blending, or or just dumb shit like you said, putting it in a box. Like, dude, like DJing is an art.
DJing has changed so much. When I came up, if we had the tools we had now, we would have used them back then. We would have used them back then. And it kind of also goes along with the sync button type thing too. I don't personally use a sync button, but hey, it's a tool. If somebody wants to use it, let them use it. Let them use it. I mean, because really, technically, with the controllers now and the different mixers, we're all push button DJs. And you can say what you want, but we're all push button. We're doing stuff that just two records can't do by themselves. Mm-hmm. So, as far as like, yeah, I mean, the blends are great. I like to blend too. I love to blend, but there's times where you have to drop the record in. There's times you have to change it up. You have to be multifaceted in every area when it comes to DJing. You can't just. It's just like driving a car. You're not going to just drive a car that only goes 50 miles an hour. You're going to want a car that has power windows, sunroof, a nice stereo system, rims. You want a car that have all these accessories. To me, that's what DJing is. All these things are accessories, and why not utilize them? If you could talk on the mic, talk on the mic. Engage yourself with your crowd. That's it. Right. It's the engagement. It's playing to the crowd. First off, it's not about you. It's about the music. It's about the people. So, showcase your talent, but don't overdo it. You have to have a fine balance when it comes to that. I hate going to parties and seeing DJs just nonstop scratching. People want to hear the music. And they want to hear this. Some people want to hear it a certain way. You have to understand that every genre, every different age group of people want it a different way. When we were coming up, it was about scratching. It was about blending. Now the whole thing has changed. You have to adapt to that, and you can't just say oh, it's about the blends, or no, I'm a turntablist. That doesn't matter. You can be the greatest turntablist in the world, but can you rock a party? Can you keep people dancing? Can you play the right music?
Talk your shit, Snow! Talk your shit! Talk your shit!
Yeah, nobody wants to hear underground music. Nobody wants to hear the same Peter Piper routine. Nobody wants to hear you go back and forth. I mean, people want to dance. They're not. If they want to see you perform, then sell them a ticket and rent out the Amway and let them come and see perform. Other than that, just rock the party, play good music. Give people what they want.
Right. You just broke it down in such an easy and digestible way, bro. Like, it's not that hard to rock a crowd if you're free to do so. And part of being free to do so a lot of times comes with experience. It comes with unlearning what the world tries to tell you, because we've had the benefit of probably rocking crowds, and like you said, we were able to break records. We were able to play a piece of a record, and people loved it. Now, to your point, it's a different era. Some people want to hear the old song, which to me, at the end of the day, is like, that's not happening. You have the DJs now, which I love, who out there saying no requests.
Yeah.
Which, if once again you're a performer, the idea of requesting a song is the equivalent of you being a band and somebody, you got your set laid out.
Yeah.
And somebody says, do a cover real quick.
Yeah.
Nah, dog, we're not doing covers. We're an original band. So it's picking your spots, but skill comes into play. Like there's still a certain character that seeps through as a DJ that I don't think can be taught. Like,
no,
DJs I equate to bartenders, servers.
Yes.
You have to be good with people, and then once you're good with people will receive whatever the hell you're cooking.
Yes.
Whatever the hell you're making as a drink.
And I think too, a lot of people call themselves DJs. and they really aren't DJs yet. I mean, a DJ is a title that you earn. You can't just say wake up one day and say I'm DJ so and so. You have to learn this craft. This craft. I've been doing it. You don't want to tell my age, but I'm 52 years old. I've been doing this for 42 years, and I still learn to this day. After 42 years, I still learn something every day to try to continue to change my craft, learn the craft, adapt, and you just have to put everything into it. You can't just go out and buy the cheapest laptop, the cheapest controller, download all your music off of YouTube, and think that that's going to make you a DJ. No, that is not going to make you a DJ. You have to take every element that is a part of this entire culture, and you have to put it together, and you have to know how to put it together.
Right.
And like I said, you have to know how to engage your people. You have to know how to deal with on the business side of it. On top of that, you have to know the technical part of it. You have to love music. You know, you have to be creative. You have to love people too. You have to be able to go out there and love people, and know that someone out there really needs to hear you. That's why they always come up with that thing of a DJ saved my life. You know, we're there to bring joy to people, not to sit there and try to make ourselves this giant superstar, even though, you know, you can be, but you have to stay humble. You have to stay humble, and you have to realize why you're doing it and what you're doing it for. And for me, that's what I've done all my years. That's why I'm successful. That's why at 52 years old, I still get booked. I still work, because I don't go in there thinking that I'm going to, you know, I'm some superstar. You gotta have everything laid out for me and all this. No. Just let's get a drink. Let's sit down. Let's talk. And, you know, then when it comes time to party, we're gonna have a good time. And these DJs, these young guys coming up, you know, I understand. I mean, it's a whole different era. It's a whole different era of people. But people need to learn from the ones who came before them. You know, when I came up, I respected every DJ that ever helped me. You know, I didn't make it here by myself. You know, it took a lot. It took a lot.
Well, you just mentioned something that's really important as far as the DJ community too. You know, do you feel like the DJs could be better in the DJ community? Because meaning like, for a lot of DJs, the mindset is like anything else. You know, as if it was a rapper or a producer, you know, like collaborating, you know, feeling like this person isn't a threat to my livelihood. You know, there's a lot of pressure on DJs. You know, you hear it all the time when DJs say, "Oh, if I play the wrong record, I might lose my job," you know, and all of this stuff. And so it creates this environment in which, you know, people are pitted against one another. And so the conversations don't happen, and they're still cliquish as fuck.
Yes.
Because I'm only going to help the people that receive it, and you never know who receives it. Just like when you were coming up, I'm pretty sure all the DJs that inspired you and gave you the extra kind of energy to continue doing it, they'll never know that they did that for you. Right. And true. So like this idea of I'm only going to give to, you know, who's going to receive it or gives back to me, it's like ridiculous. Like there's so many people that have contributed to where you're at today, like you were describing. Do you think we could be better as a community in talking with one another about these things, and not talking at them, not talking down to them, not making them feel like, oh, you're young, you don't know shit, you ain't got no vinyls, you ain't a real DJ, you ain't got no needles, you know, like all of this, like we look for so many things to say why we're different, and for all of that craziness, we're the same. Exactly.
Well, for me, I've helped and I understand because I've helped so many DJs out, and I started a lot of careers for different DJs. I
Right.
think now it's a thing that people they get scared, and honestly, I hate to say it, but I think the promoters have a lot to do with that.
Okay, can you say that? Can you say that one more time? Because some kids just got off the bus and they're just joining the class. Come on.
Okay. I believe that the reason why there's such a division in DJs, it has a lot to do with the promoters. I hate to say it, but it does have a lot to do with the promoters. As far as promoters, they know who they want. They pick their friends. They pick the ones who aren't going to charge them that much. So and the ones who are going to do everything that they tell them to do. Whereas whereas if you're a real DJ and you know what you know everything perfectly we're supposed to do, rock the crowd, all that. As soon as someone you could be killing it. It just takes one person, one girl to go up there and why you got that DJ on? How come you ain't got this one on? He ain't playing my music, that type of thing. And so then, like you said, then you have another DJ coming in, or she'll say, my friend, he could do it for $100, So then, and DJs will slip in just because they want to be on the scene. So DJs don't want to talk to each other no more. Not realizing there's so much money out there that everybody can work and everybody can eat.
Right.
So we as DJs, like you said, we are all the same. It's like a fraternity or like a union that like an unwritten
we're the hospitality staff, shit. We're the hospitality staff of the club.
Yes,
we work with the bartenders while they're serving drinks. We serving records. We out here, putting it all on the line. We're actually talking to the people.
Yes.
We're telling them, this food is great. They order what they want. They done told us they want reggae for the night. We serve up that reggae. We serve up that hip hop. And, we didn't cook it.
No.
But we're serving it. So we're putting a lot on the line.
Yes.
Just like a bartender, he takes risks. Do I serve this drink, one too many, and then this dude winds up getting in an accident? It's on me in a way because I knew he was getting to that. So as DJs, we have that same kind of responsibility. We know, like, okay, boom, they were receptive to me breaking this record tonight. I should just leave it there. Now let's move on to rocking the party. Like there should be that kind of responsibility. What say you about DJs that are out here who feel like $1 in your pocket is not $1, is $1 taken out of my pocket? Which is, like you said, there's so much money out here. How the fuck do we look at each other as these threats that it's becoming? Like you said, the promoters, they love doing that because the less that they can pay a DJ, that makes their night even better.
Yep.
We're part of the bottom line. We're part of the entry in a lot of ways when it comes to that. And what's some of the craziest things you've seen as a DJ? And like you said, the promoters and things that kind of just blew your mind. Like, wow, why would you do that?
I did an event one time. It wasn't even my event. It was during Classic Weekend, and at the time I was actually DJing at Club Koha, which was formerly Club Heroes. And
man,
so the club didn't open up until like 1 o'clock. So I was home relaxing, and I get a phone call from a DJ that another DJ called him because they couldn't do this certain gig, and I was like the last guy on the list. So I'm like, all right, cool, no problem. I run to the club, they call me like an hour before the club opens up, maybe an hour and a half. I drive there. It takes me like an hour to get there. I hook everything up. I get the party going. The place was packed. It was in Winter Park, and the promoter that was there, the owner, the first thing they told me is, and they didn't say it this way, but they said, don't play any black music. Play top 40. I said, okay. So, I'm DJing, I'm playing the parties, the crowd's going, but they're ready to party. So one of the guys, he tipped me $100 to play Biggie. So I'm gonna play Biggie.
You're right.
And then he came and tipped me again to play Jay-Z. So I'm gonna play Jay-Z. You don't tip me now. You don't tip me $150.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I went in and I played Yang Yang Twins. At the time, it was Salt Shaker. I remember the story vividly. So at that point, he came up to me and was just going off. And I'm like, well, what are you talking about? I said, look at your crowd. Your crowd is partying. Look at your bar. Your bar is jam-packed. The people are partying. He says, I don't care. So I was like, all right, fine. So I switched the music. And I ended up, I got a little smart on the microphone. I told the crowd, hey, do you like what you're hearing? They're screaming, yes, yes. I said, well, I'm sorry, I can't play this no more. And I went into like some crazy music.
Yeah.
So
country western.
no, it was probably like some old Pitbull or something like that. Some real, I hate to say it, some real like typical white club type music.
Right.
So at the end of the night, they didn't want to pay me, or they were waiting around. And one of the bouncers that came up to me and said, "Man, because I don't know, what they're gonna say, but you've like been the best DJ we've had here." He says, "But I'm gonna tell you, he asked us to beat you up." I'm like, really? I said, okay.
What?
Yes. So he said, we're not gonna do that because we're not about that. So the one bouncer who was gonna beat me up, I just so happened to know the guy. He worked at Rock and Roll Heaven, the record store. They used to get records from all the time.
Right. Shout out to Rock and Roll Heaven.
Yeah.
Man.
So
you already know.
He saw me like, man. I said, don't worry about it. So what I did was, the guy ended up paying me he paid me like only half. And so as I was leaving, loading my car up, they had sliding glass doors on the bottom of the it's like a restaurant downstairs, club up top. I had unlocked one of the sliding glass doors, and I loaded everything in my car. And I waited. I waited till everybody left. I think it was just the owner in there. And I went inside, and I paid him back. I got him back good. I took some wire cutters, and I cut every cord on his amps. And so the next night, I know he was, when he went to open up, he wasn't gonna have no music. But he tried
Gangsta shit, brother. Let's go.
He tried to have the bouncers beat me up just because I played 3, in his words, songs. And they were top 40. He said, I want top 40. I said, well, this is top 40. I don't know what you're talking about. But,
you just touched on something that's really, really, really not talked about enough. And there was a lot of that going on, still going on today.
Yeah.
When they talk about systematic racism not happening and people going through, like, what are you talking about? It's not like that. Like, there's racism in all forms of them having us, the DJs, people that do this shit out of love and, for a living and a compromise, having to be told, we don't want that black music here. Or, we're not going to have you at this event because you brought up hip hop. You said, I'm going to do a hip hop event here. Oh, no, we don't do that here. So now you got to color it and say lo-fi. I'm going to do lo-fi here. I'm going to do, it's just crazy how that works.
Well, what's even crazier is that to specialize and say one genre is black music, when really all music originated from black people. Every form of music originated from Africa. Even in Japan, even in China, Japan, when they play the drums, that originated from Africa. Okay.
Okay. There's some kids that got expelled and they just showed up back to school. Can you say that one more time for the people that did not catch that part?
All music is originally from Africa.
Boom!
Japanese, Chinese, anything with the drum beats is African. Let's come over to America. Jazz, African. Blues. Country is the white man's blues. It came from Black people. Hip hop, R&B, everything now, anything you hear now is directly influenced from the Black culture. And anybody can say what they want. I've had DJs who said racial stuff about hip hop, whatever, but you're still playing music that was originated from the people that you're talking about. So techno was created by Black people. EDM derived from that, along from house music. House music created by Frankie Knuckles. Come on. So that's just a known fact. And
shout out to Frankie Knuckles. Yes.
And until people realize that and recognize that and give credit to where it's supposed to be, it's never going to change. I know it. I've known it since day one, and I've soaked it in, and it's a part of who I am. So, and I appreciate it. Because without it, I would have had a career. It's given me a career for 42 years. So,
right.
I can't say anything else about it.
I think that's dope, man, because you're talking about a subject in which is rarely talked about. Because once again, DJs are faced with a lot of crazy shit. Some of it comes from promoters, some of it comes from owners. They attach the music to certain crowds. In Orlando, that was, it was very prevalent when I was coming up in Orlando. If you said there were keywords, so hip hop, urban, you damn near had to say top 40 for them not to assume that a certain part of town was going to come on. We don't want that crowd here.
Yeah.
What crowd? We use all this code language sometimes, and they don't realize, man, the first person that's going to deal with it, outside of the promoter, and I really don't feel that bad about promoters because they're just there to collect the money.
Yes.
The DJs, not so much. They're there to rock the crowd, but a lot of times they don't know what they're about to face.
Yes.
They don't know where they're hearing these arguments from. Like, what do you mean don't play that? Like, it's rocking the crowd. Like you said, and you're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Do you want the crowd rocked or not? So there has to be in like this immense hatred or fear of certain people being at your club, being happy and listening to certain music for you to say, I'd rather have an empty spot of people sitting at the bar before we have these people up in here dancing. And that's just crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. And the crazier part is it's usually the blonde hair, blue-eyed white girl who wants to hear that music.
Right.
That requests those songs. They even got no ass, and they want songs about shaking ass.
Right.
It happens every time. So you can't sit there and tell me, oh, you don't want these people here, when it's not even those people who are requesting the music. It's not even those people.
Right.
So, come on now.
Right. There used to be a country bar that was like right around the corner from my house. We used to live in Kansas City. And it was like an after hours joint. So we would go there, just kind of hang out, have a few more drinks after everything closed. And dude, them motherfuckers was playing hip hop all up in that bitch.
Yeah, they love it.
It's a country bar.
Yeah, they love it.
They love it. And this idea that DJs, once again, are pitted, not only, think about it. DJs sometimes are put to a lesser value. Okay, we'll have you here, but I can only pay you at the end of the night, and it's based on crowd, participation. Or I'm gonna pay you $100, but bring all your equipment and all your sound.
Yes.
No, don't play that. Don't play that black music, or don't play this music, or you're fired.
Yeah.
And, it's so much shit DJs have to kind of put up with to
Yes.
just do their job, to just do what they love.
Yeah. That's like if someone worked at just say McDonald's and you're told you can't serve Big Macs. You can serve everything else but Big Macs.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I never like went against my values. If that was the case, I just didn't become a part of that establishment.
Right.
Because the one thing you're not gonna do is you're not gonna put me in a box. You're not gonna make me play what you want to hear. If that's the case, buy a jukebox. Buy a jukebox and fill it with every song that you want played in that jukebox. If you want me, you're gonna get me. And if you want to get me, then this is what comes along with me. I people like that, I leave them alone.
Right.
Because it's not worth it. Arguing with people at the end of the night, it's like either, the old me, we're gonna have some problems. I'm too old now to be arguing with you about money. I got a family. I'm trying to get home to my family, so I just rather stay home. I'd rather just, it's not for me. Put an ad in Craigslist and find somebody that you can control, because it just doesn't make sense. We're all here to make money, and if you want.
And to your point about the money issue, it's not a zero-sum game.
Yeah.
You gotta love your job.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta love where you're working at. If you're working somewhere in which they're asking you to wear a skirt, or asking you to be a bitch, or asking you to, to compromise, not only, like I said, it's not just music. There's a lot of racial components in it too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compromising who you are morally in a lot of different ways. And it's not just I just show up and DJ.
Yeah.
There's a lot more that is entailed that makes the DJ that much more valuable. Yeah. Because if you got a DJ that's having fun in what he's doing, 9 times out of 10, the party's gonna rock.
Yeah, I remember one time when I was DJing at Koha Club Heroes. These girls used to come in there all the time, and they were dancers, and they wanted me to come DJ at their club. And it wasn't really my thing, but I said, you know what, I'll try it. I remember I went and DJed at that place one time, and I couldn't do it no more. It was like a job. It wasn't. I had to wear a suit and tie. I had to DJ behind the bar, and I had to play only rock and roll music. And I had to play as a certain playlist, and it was like 8 hours. It was a shift. I had a shift 8 hours. And I'm like, what in the world? And by the end of the night, the girls didn't want to tip. And I think, like, out of 8 hours, I may have made like $75, $100, something like that. I said, oh, hell no. I said, I can't do it. I mean, I can't be here and be stuck playing rock music all night, and as soon as you leave, the girls want to hear hip hop anyway, but it was just a struggle. It shouldn't be a job to where you feel like you're punching the clock. I mean, it is a job.
Yeah. And as a DJ, you shouldn't hate the music that you're playing. Yeah. Like, I love rock music, but if you're telling me I can only play a playlist and I can only, play this all night for 8 hours, I'm looking at you like, dude, you're not gonna make me hate what I do. Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, that's not even what. Like, how much? What is the price point on making you do something to eventually hate what you love doing?
Oh,
Like, what's the
God.
price point on that?
I
You
don't know.
know?
I can't. Yeah. For me, I mean, I don't know. Like, I can't answer that because for me,
Right? Like,
I mean,
I
it's
don't know.
like I would. For me, if it was like that, but now I would sell all my equipment. I would just give up.
You
I
know what's
would.
hilarious? You know what's hilarious? There's DJs that have done that,
Yeah.
that have allowed the world to literally beat the DJ out of them.
Yeah.
Meaning, like, they've caught the crappy gigs.
Yeah.
They've allowed all the people to control them, and they wind up hating the very thing that they went in loving doing.
Yep.
You know,
I went through a point one time like that. I mean, I had to break myself out of it, and I mean, it's rough. You know, it does get rough, but you have to learn why you did it in the first place, why you love it so much in the first place,
right.
and that's why earlier when I was saying like you have to reinvent yourself. So
Right.
you know you have to constantly reinvent yourself and adapt because, like I said, there was a time I hated it too. I was like, is it worth it? You know, and this is really about the time when the digital DJing first started coming out, and it was like really weird to me, and then it was the whole thing. If you're not using Serato, you're not a real DJ. If you're using virtual DJ, it was just garbage.
Right.
And like what people don't realize is, you know, virtual DJ, and I'm gonna blow a lot of people's minds. Virtual DJ is actually a better program than Serato.
No, I've used it from
And
a creative standpoint. It actually is, and it's more friendly based on your equipment.
yes, but the thing about virtual DJ is it was actually created by Newmark. It was originally called Newmark Q, and then it turned into virtual DJ. Newmark Q came right after the Final Scratch. You know, Final Scratch from Stent was the first one that came out, but then in the rush of everything, that's when they came out with the virtual DJ. I had the records, I had the box, I had the CDs, the time codes and all that. But like I say, it was called Newmark Q. But you know, like anything else, you know, you have companies who make the same item. Two different companies make the same, like Toyota makes Lexus.
Right.
You know, so Newmark made virtual DJ, and then virtual DJ also had their own name too. So it's simply the same program. it was more stable. It had more things that were offered to it. The video
Right.
DJ, they were the first ones to do video DJ.
Right. Right.
You know, now with Serato, you have to pay for all that, but it got a bad name because, you know, strip club DJs or wedding DJs, they started using it, and they were just using their laptop or whatever, and I understand that. But I've had people come up to me and tell me I wasn't a real DJ because I was using virtual DJ or Newmark Q at the time. When I was actually sponsored by Newmark, and I was using Newmark product, and I was getting paid to use Newmark's products. So
Crazy.
So tell me I'm not a DJ and I'm doing everything that your favorite DJ did the week before. You know, what's the matter?
Crazy.
Like, but see, now I'm a Serato DJ now. I use Serato exclusively, but the whole point of that is it's like we get so stuck on certain parts, and it just like so during that time I was just getting frustrated. I didn't want to do it no more. I wasn't getting the gigs that I wanted. Trying to get my foot in the door in Orlando and fighting, you know, this DJ, that DJ. Oh, this is a white guy. What's this white guy know about anything? You know, and it was just always a struggle for me. So I took some time. I took some time off, but then I realized, you know, I was missing it too much. It was a part of me that was missing. So I reinvented, like I said, I reinvented myself, and that's when I started DJing at Heroes nightclub, and I just started I did some places around Orlando here and there, but nothing that was ever permanent, nothing that was ever like a residency. But it wasn't until like Club Koha that I really had a long-standing residency. I was there about 10 years at Koha.
Wow.
With Disco and the City Boys. And,
shout out to Disco and the City Boys.
Yeah, shout out to Disco and of course Sir Night Train.
Shout out to my man Train.
Train, they know. So we used to kill it. We used to only be open on Friday nights, and then we started expanding, and we was opening up like 4 or 5 nights. So it was a big deal back then. That kind of helped me. That kind of helped re-spark everything back into me.
Yeah, man. And you're absolutely right. Like, we try to be purists to the point that we eliminate our own inspirations when we do that. Like, a lot of people, myself included, were technique, people.
Yeah.
Like, never thought of using another turntable, but now they're using all kinds of other different turntables.
Yes.
Newmark turntables, this and that, whatever, and you can't tell somebody you're not a real something because they don't do this. Yeah. But there's also an argument, and I think that comes from just people feeling like they're not appreciated.
Yeah.
Like, I could say I'm a DJ because I picked up a $100 controller somewhere.
Yeah.
And, back to your earlier point, that doesn't make you a DJ.
No.
It's not equipment based. It's, do people remember you?
Yes.
Like you do an event or whatever, and people be like, man, you impacted my life, like saved my life. I was on the edge, and you played a couple records, man, and totally changed my perspective. I met my future wife, whatever. Yep. You're not a DJ to me until some of those things are in place. Yeah. You're a DJ in name only because that's what you want to be. But there's skill, there's character, there's tutelage. There's yes. I can't say I got a bachelor's degree, but I never went to school.
Yep. I mean, you also have to pay your dues. These guys that come up now that they've been DJing a year or less, and they want to have the prime spot in the club. You have to pay your dues. You have to. This is a craft. You have to do everything. There's like steps to it. You have to get everything lined up before you can say, "Hey, I'm a DJ." Everything it's a process, like you said. Right. And buying equipment is not making you a DJ. When my father bought me those turntables and mixer, that didn't make me a DJ. It wasn't until I was in the club that I realized I was a DJ.
Right. People move into your vibrations, and people, digging on what your character is and what makes you different from so and so. If you could tell us without incriminating anybody, what is one of the craziest things you ever seen as a DJ in the club? Pick one out of a hat. I know you've seen it, but just what are one of the things that you seen in a club and you were like, God damn, what the hell going on up in here?
Oh, I've seen people having sex in the club. I've seen them around the dance floor. Having sex. I've seen a lot of crazy. I've seen went from like hardcore drugs to, even some of these parties. Without really telling anybody. There's parties I've seen where big in the industry had bathtub parties, and you show up at this party and it's a bunch of dudes in fucking bathtubs. And it's like, what the fuck is this going on? But
I never heard of that.
Yeah, just like a bunch of bathtubs, and you got men in these bathtubs And it's like, okay, this is a party I don't need to be at. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God! Wow.
I don't care who it is. This is not for me. You know what I'm saying? This is not for me.
Never heard of that one. So I think that's probably that'll drop as the craziest thing we heard tonight. Talk about that WWE thing that you're doing, and how'd you get involved with that?
Well, what I do is, as far as my career, like you said, we all have, you can't just live off being a DJ anymore unless you're a major producer, you're EDM DJ. So we all have to have a day job. So I'm an audio engineer. I'm a lighting engineer. I build LED walls. I pretty much do any type of concert, any type of corporate event, that type of thing. I've been working with WWE for about 7 years. I work in the Southeast region from Texas all the way over to Florida. So I pretty much do the setup for them. So right now, we are building for WrestleMania. That's going to be coming up in a couple weeks. So we are in Raymond James Stadium, and we're building the entire thing up for WrestleMania.
Dope, man. That's dope, bro.
So we also have a location in St. Petersburg that we moved from the Amway. Right now, since the pandemic hit, everything of course has changed this industry completely. So WWE, they're doing all their shows almost like an enclosed studio. There's no fans, there's no one there. It's all LED walls, and people are, paying to be seen on these LED walls, and they're watching watching everything. So we moved them from the Amway Arena to here in St. Petersburg, but we're also having to tear that down now because baseball season's starting up. So they need the baseball stadium for baseball. So we're breaking that down, and we're setting up for WWE, for WrestleMania at the same time. So I pretty much, I do the lighting, all the sound, like I said, the LED walls. I'm working this week, doing some of the pyrotechnique stuff, getting that ready for WrestleMania that's happening on this month on the 11th. It's a 2-day event.
Dope.
But also do concerts. I tour. I do sound for different people. I did the On the Run tour with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Dope. Dope.
I do. I mean, pretty much any concert I'm on it. Especially if it's in Florida, I'm there. I'm setting it up. Running it. Sometimes I'm actually operating the board. Sometimes I just set it up or I break it down.
Dope. Well, I'm so honored to have you on the show, man. You gave such good insight on what it is to be a DJ, some of the things that, I know can speak to young people in a good way that, because, as OGs in the game, it's important that, one, we can't take none of this shit with us to the grave. And then two, when people can hear it coming from a good place and in a non kind of fuck you vibe, I think people take it, in a more productive way.
Yes.
And like I said, bro, your resume is dope.
Thank you.
You're a part of the story of our city, and I can't tell my story without telling yours.
Yes.
So, I'm just, like I said, I'm so thankful that you took time out.
Yeah,
WWE, allergies, you came through anyway.
Yeah, my voice is gone. My voice is gone. I apologize for that.
No, you good, brother. I mean, that just shows that you ain't fucking around. You real. No. You're gonna make it happen one way or another, because that's what we do. We gonna work it out one way or another.
I gotta hustle. I gotta hustle because it's I got a family that depends on me, and I'm doing a lot of this too. This has been a rough time for me, I'm usually a very private person, but I'm dealing with a lot of death in my family these last couple months, as well as my sister's needs have a major operation along with her husband. So it's been rough, but it's just like you said, we all going through something, and what keeps me going is the work, staying busy, and
Right.
that's pretty much it. Because
Our
at the end of
condolences are with
Yeah.
you, brother.
thank you, because at the end of the day, my family depends on me. So I have to do what I have to do, and with this pandemic, it's changed everything as far as DJing and everything else. So you have to do what you got to do. Luckily, the DJing is picking back up. I've been real busy doing a lot of different events. So hopefully it'll continue.
Yeah, man. And like I said, when the show started, this is a perfect example, of show me. We're showing people how a conversation may not be the answer, but it is a part of the answer.
Yes.
And the idea of just kind of talking and letting people know, man, hey, we're all going through it, man. And
Yep.
We're not alone. And the more we could talk and conversate as just good people, and especially in our community, and just give awareness to this thing called the human experience.
Yes.
The better we are at the end of the day.
Yep. I agree with you.
I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
You're always welcome on the show. Keep us updated on what you're doing, man. And
Yes, sir.
we're rooting for you, brother.
Appreciate it. I'm honored. Thank you very much. It's a blessing. Thank you.
Hey, man, give it up for the legendary, the one and only, represent that 407 DJ Snow. Let's go, man.
Yes.
So honored to have people like that on the show. It means everything, man, because this is what we're doing out here, bro. We are talking about our city, our story, and our motherfucking sound. Shout out to my man, the legendary Jesse Jazz, on the check-in. If you need printing, go hit up my man at 5 Star Graphics. He is one of the best in the city. Graphic design, printing, T-shirts, you name it. Hit up my man, 5stargraphics.com. Jesse Jazz, bro, we love you over here, bro. And shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight, man. We love you guys, man. Shout out to my man, Hard Rockin' Ryan. Shout out to you, brother. We love you, man. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And you know what time it is. We'll be back tomorrow with another show. Peace.
Live on stage. The sound.
Up Orlando.
So, is they ready?
Yes.
The sound.